Hello, and you're all very welcome along to another episode of the Cúilín Media podcast. We have a bumper weekend ahead of All-Ireland Senior Football Championship Round 3 games and the All-Ireland Senior Hurling Championship quarterfinals, as well as the final round of the LGFA groups. And there's some action in Camogie as well to look forward to as well. The All-Ireland Minor Football Championship semi-finals are on this weekend too. And I'm delighted to be joined by Liam White from the Faithful Podcast to discuss this weekend's action. And I'm sure we'll get on to Cork and Offaly because there will be fisticuffs between us during the show when we get to that game. But before we get into the games, shout out to our sponsors at ATAK Sports. If you want the best gear around, check them out. If you haven't already, we're delighted to have them as our championship partners for the 2026 campaign. So Liam, you were away on Sunday. I was with Killy Lynch, obviously on Sunday. It's my third show in a row actually presenting the show. So yeah, you could say I'm the deputy for Seamus Brady in the last 2 weeks. But yeah, how are you getting on, Liam? And I'm sure you're looking forward to the game in the hurling, especially on Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely. And first of all, look, thanks a million to Killian again for jumping on once again. It's a shame because I actually would have jumped on with you from Malaga Airport and made it a bit of a funny episode, but my phone was on about 6% at the airport. So I said, I'll leave a comment and I'll leave it at that. But no, it was it was a great show anyways, the bits I did get to see. So well done, Tees, for that. Yeah, look, it's a big weekend ahead, a lot of big games to come. Obviously, you have Kerry and Armagh in the football, which is an absolutely mouth-watering tie, and I can imagine poor Jarlath Burns is not very much liked in Armagh this week for that draw coming out on Monday morning. Dublin Donegal, a great rivalry back in the early 2010s, especially with that all-time classic that ended 8-6 in Croke Park. So hopefully we don't get another encounter like that this weekend anyway. And yeah, like you mentioned, look, the Cork and Offaly game it'll be a feast on Sunday. I'm looking forward to it. It could be a game that could go one way or another, depending on probably the mood of both teams. But yeah, no, very much looking forward to it. And yeah, looking forward to diving into tonight's episode.
Yeah, exactly. So the comments are flowing in, and Peter Griffin, Brendan Kennelly, all them are leading the charge. There's no doubt about that. And Gaelic guy as well, the Armagh fan, more nervous for Saturday than I was for the All-Ireland final in 2024. And yeah, that leads us on nicely to the first game we are going to discuss, and it is the All-Ireland Senior Football Championship Round 3 encounter between Kerry and Armagh in Fitzgerald Stadium, Killarney on Saturday at 5 o'clock. This I think it's actually on at 4 o'clock. I might have to double check that, but yeah, Liam, all the same, it's an absolutely mouth-watering encounter between the two counties. You would imagine the two of them would be All-Ireland favourites before the season even began, because I remember on the Cúilín Media predictions show, 3 went for Kerry and 1, a stupid soul called myself, said Armagh would win the All-Irelands. So we will see which one of us will be looking stupid. There will be either 3 of us or one of us looking stupid on Saturday evening, but we will see which one it will be. And as Jarlath Burns did say, you had one job, Burns. That's what the Armagh crowd would have been saying after looking at this draw. But jokes aside, this is a mouth-watering encounter between two sides that deservedly are All-Ireland favourites. Armagh performed very, very well throughout the campaign, and then the last few minutes against Louth, they lapsed concentration, and obviously that, you would say, the controversial goal from Samuel Roy at the very end derails Armagh's season if they don't get over the line in this game. And obviously for Kerry, losing to Donegal was a big, big moment for them. But one of the favourites, Liam, are going to go out of the All-Ireland Championship at round 3.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, in fairness, Trevi predicted Armagh to win Ulster, and I said Donegal, so I looked fairly stupid on that occasion, and you looked like geniuses, to be fair. So don't be beating up yourself if this weekend doesn't go to plan. But yeah, look, it's a real fascinating encounter. Like when you saw the teams that were going into this draw, you were just feasting up at the games that we were got. And I'm going to be honest with you, I think it delivered in actually possibly the best possible way. You have, like, I mean, we'll get on to them in a moment, but you have Monaghan and Westmeath. If you'd said to the two counties, who do you want to play, they'd have said each other. You know, I think the only thing for Westmeath, they would have probably said in Mullingar, but aside from that, they'd have said Monaghan. Then you get Dublin, Donegal. I mean, Donegal are one of the favourites for the All-Ireland, albeit they've lost to Down and Cork this season in ways that you just wouldn't associate with Donegal over the last year or two with Jim McGuinness, you know. So that, you know, you're going to get a response from them. Dublin, they need a bit of a kick up the arse, to be honest with you. They probably got it against Louth, maybe. You never know. They're back in Croke Park this weekend. Will their season come to an end at Croke Park? I know Ger Brennan wanted the game to be played at Parnell Park. you have Meath and Mayo. For me, I think there's just going to be blood in that game, to be honest with you, because they're both going to be so desperate to get to a quarter final. And then you have this one, two teams who play really nice football. I enjoy watching both teams. I like a lot of their players on both teams. I would have probably, in a way, preferred if this game was in Armagh, to be honest with you, at the Athletic Grounds. I think it would be such a better atmosphere, and I think we would get a lot more of a closer game. But having said that, Armagh this weekend are going to need to put in a performance. There's no doubt about it, because last weekend they started really strong against Louth. They had a goal within, was it the opening 2 minutes, and they looked like they were going to really cruise to victory, to be honest with you. And then Louth just fought back. And like you said, the goal at the end, I felt so sorry for Rafferty, to be honest with you, because it was just such an awkward ball that came in, you know, and it's the last moment, and any little mistake and you're going to be punished. And that's exactly what happened. It was a Hail Mary shot from Sam Mulroy, for being honest about it, you know. So, but nevertheless, the mistake happened. It's over. You get on with it. You move on. But I wouldn't be seeing that as a reason to not give Armagh a chance this weekend, because like you said, they've been performing really well all season. We were saying it all along that a lot of their league results were kind of wrong, to be honest, because they were performing really well. They just didn't get the results that probably backed it. And then in the Ulster Championship, they were by far the best side in it, you know, and won it deservedly. They took care of Derry fairly comprehensively in the opening round without much of a fuss. And then obviously, like you mentioned, one mistake last weekend could be the one that causes them their entire season, which is just mental. And it just shows you the ramifications of making that one mistake in this football championship. But then you look at Kerry, like you said, very disappointing against Donegal. But then again, we saw it last year with Kerry. They were terrible against Meath and Tullamore, and then they just turned it around. And I mean, they basically won the Ulster Championship last year, as well as the All-Ireland, beating Cavan, Armagh, Tyrone and Donegal on their way to winning the Sam Maguire again. So look, maybe that was to kick up the arse. Kerry needed, to be honest with you. They went up to Kildare last weekend, albeit Kildare weren't really up to the races against them. They weren't able to stop Kerry at all, to be honest with you. And Kerry swept them aside rather comprehensively. But yeah, this is now, it's a massive game for both counties. It will be a season-defining game for both teams, to be honest with you. You'd almost feel like whoever wins this might actually turn out to be the favourites for the All-Ireland, to be honest with you. If Armagh were to go down to Kerry and put out a statement and knock out the All-Ireland champions, what better way to ignite your season once again than by doing that? And then you have Kerry, who, if they were to knock out Armagh for the second year in a row and possibly maybe beat them in a convincing way, sort of like how they did last year in the quarterfinals, then, I mean, by God, people will be taking them very, very seriously from here on out. Now, obviously, we still have to wait and see what the injury situation is like with Kerry. I know that O'Connor has been saying during the week that Shawnee O'Shea is not like fully fit or whatever, but then you wonder, for a game like this, is he just going to be magically starting at number 11 this weekend? You know, it's always the cute thing that always happens with managers and players, especially down in Kerry as well. But yeah, look, it's a real fascinating game, and very much looking forward to it. And I think we could be in for a really, really tight game this weekend.
Yeah, exactly. So it should be an absolutely cracking game this weekend in many ways. And the comments, as expected, are flowing in for this game as well. As we look through the comments in here, Brendan Canadian, pro Kerry man, is saying here, on one hand, a fantastic draw, two powerhouses in Killarney, with one of the heavyweights gone before the quarterfinals. And on the other hand, thinking this should be a quarterfinal or semi-final in Croke Park. Absolutely so. And yeah, that is definitely the name of the game there. Gaelic guy is saying here, I ain't predicting nothing this weekend for this game. I'm really stuck between head and heart. Peter saying in here, Kerry at home have too much. We'll have to see over the weekend. So yeah, Liam, the question I really wanted to ask you, in fairness, about this game in many ways is, like, a lot of people are saying that the winners of this will win the All-Ireland, maybe pointed towards Donegal's mishap against Cork last weekend as being the prime example of why Donegal can't win it. But honestly, do you believe whoever wins this game on Saturday will go on and win the All-Ireland with the momentum that they would carry, with knocking out a big dog there as well? Do you think the winners of this game will win the All-Ireland in the end?
Well, I suppose I predicted Kerry to win the All-Ireland at the start of the year. So I feel like if they were to obviously go on and win this game this weekend, I'd probably still be backing them regardless, to be honest. I'll be honest, no matter who Kerry were playing this weekend, I'd probably still be backing them to win the All-Ireland. I just have a feeling that if this is O'Connor's last year, he'll want to go out with a bang. He'll want to do back-to-back All-Irelands. And I still think when you have David Clifford in your team, then it's very hard to stop Kerry, to be honest with you, albeit Donegal did in the opening round. But yeah, look, and it'd probably a bit silly for me to then say, well, I don't think Armagh will go on and win the All-Ireland if they were to knock out Kerry this weekend. But the only thing is, and it's even kind of why I'm still maybe now thinking, maybe Kerry won't win it. The football championship this year is about bonkers. I mean, I predicted Meath to win Leinster, and they went out with a whimper against Westmeath. Do you know, I predicted Donegal to win Ulster, and as you rightly said, they don't do 3 in a row. And well, never mind getting to the final, they couldn't even get to a semi-final. Do you know what I mean? Like, who'd have seen like a lot of the results that we've had this season? Like, I suppose a lot of people might not have seen Cork going up to Donegal and winning. Do you know, a lot of people might not have seen that, to be honest with you. And then just Cork can just go and do it. Do you know, and deservedly so as well. They deservedly won it. Like, there's just been an amazing amount of results. At the start of the season, I'd have honestly thought Wexford would have been a team that had got to the Tailteann Cup final. Sorry about that, lads. But like, do you know what I mean? Like, there's just been so many backwards results this season in football that I'm nearly now terrified to say who I think would win the All-Ireland, because do you know what? Maybe it's the year for Mayo. You never know. Maybe Mayo will go on and finally do it this year with the way the championship is going. But yeah, look, whoever wins it has a big chance. But at the same time, like, Kerry could win this weekend, and then they could go to the quarterfinals against Cork, against possibly Galway, and be knocked out. Armagh could win this weekend, and then, like, again, they could meet a Monaghan or a Westmeath, say, in a quarterfinal and be knocked out. Do you know, I think the football championship this year is very highly contested. I think there's a lot of really good quality teams in it, to be honest with you. So look, do I think whoever wins this weekend goes on and win it? I am gonna say yes, but am I 100% convinced by saying that? Absolutely not. Just given the way the championship has been this season.
Brendan saying, commenting here, it's a bit confusing, I have to say. Honestly, actually, I think Cork are the only team in the quarterfinals automatically that would have a chance in their respective quarterfinal. I don't know how to take that, to be honest with you. Peter saying in here, and that as well. And interesting comment from Gaelic Guy here. Another positive is that Jack doesn't do 2 in a row. That's absolutely bang on. And I've said that in the Cúilín show at the start of the championship as well. Jack O'Connor isn't a guy that does 2 All-Irelands in a row. He never does it. 2023, they were massive favourites going into that game against Dublin. And Dublin had that kind of aging team, and obviously Jack got turned over in that game. Tyrone have turned him over plenty of times, obviously down in the quarterfinals in 2010. There's been plenty of examples where Jack's Kerry have flattered to deceive. But as we've recorded this, the Kerry team has been named. So I will name it now and maybe get your thoughts on the starting team that is. So Shane Murphy in goal, so no Shane Ryan still. The full backline, Paul Murphy, Jason Foley and Dylan Casey. The half backline, Brino Biagli, Mike Breen and Graham O'Sullivan. Mark O'Shea, Sean O'Brien in midfield. Joe O'Connor, Paddy Clifford and Dermot O'Connor in the half forward line. And then the full forward line, you have David Clifford, Paul Gainey and Dylan Gainey in the full forward line there. Shane Ryan, he's on the bench though. So could Kerry bring a surprise there? We'll have to see once throwing happens. Evan Looney, Keith Evans, Tony Brosnan, Killian Trant, Armin Heinrich, Gavin White, Killian Spillane, Ty Morley, Sean O'Shea and Tomas Kennedy are all on the bench as well. So Sean O'Shea and Shane Ryan both on the bench. Your thoughts on the starting team, Liam? Obviously, that might not be the starting team come Saturday. There might be changes, like Sean O'Shea might come in. You know the way what Kerry media is like, but we'll see.
Well, Sean O'Shea is starting. I'm sorry now. Like you don't leave if he's fit. You don't leave a player like that on the bench. He's of the highest quality. He's arguably, I mean, people, I know obviously people mention David and people mention Paddy, but Shawnee is just as important to that Kerry team as any one of them. So for me, I can see Shawnee starting this game. To be honest, I wouldn't even be surprised if Gavin White started this game, but at the same time, look, it's very hard to break into that Kerry half back line at the same time. Graham O'Sullivan, Mike Breen and Brian O'Brigliock it's just a fabulous half back line, to be honest with you. So no, it's a very, very strong Kerry team. That half forward line is an absolute unit, to be honest with you, especially Joe O'Connor and Dermot O'Connor on the wings, and you've Paddy obviously at centre forward orchestrating everything. And then you just have the forward line. That's the stuff of nightmares for a full back line, to be honest with you. Never mind Clifford, the 2 Gainies as well. Like I'd rather not be marking them, to be honest with you, if you're having nightmares. But look, it's a very strong Kerry team. It is also a strong Kerry bench. Like, even if, say, Shawnee did come in, I'm only just saying this as an example. If he started instead of Dermot O'Connor, just say, if you then bring Dermot O'Connor off the bench, what an option to have. Do you know, I'm only just saying, I'm only just projecting. I think Shawnee probably will end up starting this game. And then you have Tomas Kennedy, who's a very fine forward to come off the bench. Gavin White, very, very capable as well. Tony Brosnan, who I think is very, very underrated. Tyke Morley, I think, is severely underrated, to be honest with you. It's a very, very strong Kerry outfit. And it is going to be difficult for Armagh to beat them. Like, it's going like you saw last year. What did Kerry score last year? 32 points, wasn't it, in Croke Park? Like an absolute savage amount of scores. And I think they got, what was it, 21 or 22 of those points in the second half. Like, when they need to turn it on, they turn it on massively. And if they do that this weekend at home to Armagh, and especially just with the way Armagh sort of defended last week against Louth, I could really see it just being only a Kerry win, to be honest with you. But at the same time, look, if there's going to be anyone that will want to derail the Kerry party, it is Armagh. Look, they bet them in 24. They had them on the ropes last year. Let's be honest, they did have them on the ropes at the start of the second half, and then just all of a sudden, Kerry just decided to turn into prime 1970s Brazil and just absolutely went for them. But no, look, it's going to be a very interesting contest. I don't think the Armagh team has been announced as we're recording this. No, it hasn't been announced yet. So we'll wait and see what they go with from there. But yeah, very, very strong Kerry team.
Yeah, exactly. So, and you might see at the bottom left corner there, below my screen, I have put up a poll there, and it is to predict the winner of the game. So in the comments, put 1 if you predict Kerry to win the game, put 2 if you predict Armagh to win the game, and we'll see what the prediction is from the commenters at the end of the discussion of this game. But I suppose we talked about Kerry and we talked about their team there and Jack's inability to do 2 in a row or whatever. But let's go on to Armagh. That game against Louth last week was absolutely gut-wrenching for them to lose the way they did, or they had to lose the way that they did in that. And they looked very, very good at half-time, and even the start of the second half when Oisin Connolly gets that goal. But like, do you feel like Armagh have had a good season so far? That is what I'm trying to ask, because like in Division 1, they performed well in games, but they didn't get the results to show it. But then the Championship, they looked absolutely exemplary in the first few games. Conor Turbot was absolutely shooting the lights out. Oisin O'Neill was doing well as well for the bench and being sprung on. And even the goalkeeper, Blaine Hughes, was doing well at the start of the season as well. I know Ethan Rafferty made that mistake, but Blaine Hughes, according to Cúilín, I've seen one of his videos, he's going to be injured for this game, so they have to stick with Ethan Rafferty by hook, by crook for this one. But maybe another question as well, do they start Oisin O'Neill here? I know he's been used as a super sub in the last few games, but desperate times come for desperate measures. Maybe it's time to spring him, and maybe it's time to start him in this game.
I would start him in a game like this. It's a must-win for them. You know, you lose, you're gone, and you need your best players on the pitch, and you need your most effective players on the pitch. Now, who he comes in for, I'm not sure, to be honest with you, because I do think they have a lot of really good players in amongst their team as well. But look, for me, have Armagh had a good season? I think they absolutely have. I think it's been a fantastic season for them, to be honest with you. Like, look, at the end of the day, the league is the league. The league is about, you know, getting lads playing to your system and getting a couple of good performances here and there. If you manage to get to a league final or manage to win the league, brilliant. But at the end of the day, people are going to remember what happened in the Championship more than anything. Do you know what I mean? Like I'll be honest, like I'd even ask you, like as a Cork fan, were you more devastated to have lost the league final or the Munster final? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like you're not, like, it was the same with me last year. I was more devastated when we lost to Dublin and Wexford in the Championship than when we lost to Waterford in the league final. I was more devastated we lost to Kildare in the Taoiseach Cup than I was ecstatic we won Division 3. Do you know what I mean? Like, people are going to remember the Championship at the end of the year. So Armagh in the Championship have been brilliant, and we've said it for a long time. It's similar to Clare and Hurling. For a long time, I would have said Armagh's ambition is to win Ulster. Probably because they've won that All Ireland, they have that in the bag. Now they all have Ulster medals. So even if the season ends this weekend, I think it's still been a very good season for Armagh. They'll be disappointed, sure, but I still think it's been a very successful season for them. But at the same time, it would be very, very, I suppose, underwhelming for them if they were to go out before even the quarterfinal stages. Do you know? And look, but I don't think they're a winning team. They have a winning mentality. They've won Ulster. They won the All Ireland 2 years ago. This is a team of winners at the end of the day. And like the players that they have playing, well, you mentioned Turbidge, you mentioned McConville, etc. Ross McQuillan got 4 points the last day. Jarlath Gold-Burns has been absolutely sensational this season, and he was fantastic last season as well. He's really made wing-back his spot, to be honest with you. Tierney Kelly as well. You know, like, they have a lot of really, really talented players. Connaughty, who I love watching every time he goes out there, to be honest with you. Even Gareth Murphy got a goal last week. I think that was his first ever score for Armagh last weekend, and he just ended up, it was like, what's that meme? What's a polar bear doing in Texas? Do you know, what was he doing up front? Like, do you know, at that moment? But Yeah, like for me, if Armagh go out this weekend, I still think it's been a very good season for them. But at the same time, I can imagine they'll be absolutely Kieran McGeeney. I can imagine will not want to go out this weekend, and especially not down away at Kerry as well. The team that knocked them out last year, I can imagine they don't want to go out to the same team 2 years in a row. But unfortunately, I do, and sorry, Killian, if you're listening, I do think Kerry, just with home advantage, and I still think Kerry are very, very strong. And I do just think, to be honest with you, I think that full forward line from Kerry could do some serious damage this weekend. Now, having said that, I could look very, very silly come Sunday evening, or well, Saturday evening, to be honest with you. But and Armagh could just absolutely turn it on. They could do the opposite of what happened last year. They could be the ones that could be on the back foot at the start of the second half down in Killarney, like Kerry were last year in Croke Park, and then just absolutely switch it on like that and go at them, go for the juggler. But at the same time, I just think that defeat last weekend could have done such damage to them, just mentally more than anything. So I'm going to go with Kerry to win this weekend. I'm going to go with Kerry to win by, I would say maybe, I'm saying 6 points, but the thing is, with the 2-pointer rule now and the goals and everything like that, I don't think 6 points is a hammering anymore, to be honest, in football. Like, I could see this being like Kerry are 2 points up with a couple of minutes to go, and then they get maybe 2-pointers back to back, and they see the game out. But I think it will be a very close game.
It will be a close game. And to be fair, I actually will think Kerry will win the game as well in Fitzgerald Stadium, simply because, and one of the comments that I mentioned, Ethan Rafferty's kickouts are a bit suspect. And I was thinking back to last year, that second half display by Kerry was relentless in many ways, but it was down to Ethan Rafferty's kickouts as well. Like, they were, every time they were going right on top of the Kerry midfield, and Kerry were keep winning them each and every time. I think Kerry got, 14, 15 points off Armagh kickouts last year. In the second half alone, I think it was about 12.
I was about to say, I think they won like 12 or 13 kickouts in a row from Armagh. Or something like that. Like, something scandalous like that. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, that's probably the reason I predict Kerry to win the game in the end. I know Gaelic guys said possibly it could be penalties, but like if it goes to penalties, who has the best penalty takers, who has the best luck in many ways? That's going to be very interesting to see. But I don't think it will get that far. I don't think Kerry will get over the line in the end. But we will have
it takes off.
Exactly. But yeah, I think Kerry will get over the line and they should win this weekend. But it is going to be a mouth-watering encounter. Before we get on to the other games, Liam, we predicted our winners, and the commenters obviously predicted Kerry. 80% say Kerry as well. But is there going to be any flashpoints?
Oh, you see, I'm kind of tempted to say that we're going to get like another situation like we did with Kerry Donegal, just for a bit of spiciness. I think there'll be a controversial black card decision.
Okay, that's probably enough. Exactly. So we will stop the poll there. So Kerry, 86% say Kerry will win the game as well. So can Armagh pull off the shot? We will have to see on Saturday in that game. There's no doubt about that. We will hide the poll there. So we will go on to the next game, and it is Mayo against Meath in McHale Park in Castlebar Saturday, 6:15. And that's also live on GA Plus, but the Armagh Kerry game is on GA Plus in this game as well. So it's going to be an interesting round 3 tie between Mayo and Meath. The last time they met in the championship was the Super 8s, I believe, in 2019, where Mayo were clearly the better team on the day and they got the job done. But I see the video of Meath actually beating Mayo in the 2009 All-Ireland quarterfinals, and they used a lot of inspiration to get the win out of that game. I think David Bray got 1-3. A lot of people know Stephen Bray, but David was the star of that day. Keane Ward was absolutely incredible as well, I remember. The question mark about them, can they produce that similar display in this game? And as for Mayo, they would have been sick with how they lost the Tyrone game in many ways at Omagh. They had it by the scruff of the neck, and then Niall Morgan got the 2-pointer to win the game at the end for the Red Hand. But this is a very, very tight game to call. I think out of all the round 3 ties, a lot of people are saying this is 50-50.
It is 50-50, to be honest with you, because, well, first of all, Mayo's home record is not great in recent times. Like, I'm actually starting to wonder if they like playing in Castlebar or not, to be honest with you. Like, they either lose there or they win in the most unconvincing fashion when it comes to championship, So Meath should be going into this game with a lot of confidence, and especially with the fact that they just went up to Derry, which is a very, very tough ground to go to, and they won rather comfortably in the second half in the end. You know, they didn't really have to do much. And especially when you look at the fact that Rory Kinsella is out, you know, like they're arguably probably their best player and probably most influential player other than maybe the likes of Frayne and Coslow, etc. Like they still went up there and they did the job without a fuss, to be honest with you. Not a big deal. And that was also their first championship win of the season, which is just mental to be saying, to be honest with you, considering how good they were in the league. But for Mayo, yeah, like if we're gonna be honest about it, they threw the game against Tyrone away. To be honest with you, they did really, really well. They got a lot of really nice scores. I thought Colby McDonald last weekend was absolutely sensational again, and best of luck to him as well. He is heading off to Australia after the leaving cert, so the best of luck to him there. And it's going to be a massive, massive miss for Mayo. But for the time that they do have him, I mean, I expect him to put on another show again this weekend. To be honest with you, like he's the type of scores he's getting as well. You could tell who his father was anyway. To be honest with you, the way he's kicking the ball outside of his boot, they're just so aesthetically pleasing to watch. But no, look, Meath travelled well last weekend, and I think they travelled well against She. To be honest with you, they were doing really well in the first half, and then obviously the second half, you just took over and you blitzed them in the second half. But Meath have shown in those last two games they can travel well against difficult opposition and go and win, you know, very at tricky grounds, other than obviously the result against Cork. But like Mayo are going to have to perform this weekend. They're going to have to be a lot sharper this weekend, not give away as many fouls as they did last weekend as well, which I think ultimately cost them at the end of the day. It's very much a 50-50 game, in my opinion. And I look, Meath, it's very hard to tell. They're very hot and cold, to be honest with you. Anytime I predict Meath to do well, they don't. Anytime I probably predict them not to do well, they do well. So maybe they'd be hoping I'm going to say Mayo's going to win or something. But I actually do think Meath are going to win this weekend. I just think they have a bit more to offer. I think that win last weekend against Down would have done them such confidence. Even without Rory Kinsella, I think they have good backup options, to be honest with you. And yeah, look, Mayo's just a funny one because we saw it as well against Monaghan, how much they were in front and then they almost let it slip. You know, they're sort of making a bit of a habit of nearly trying to let games go, to be honest with you. But for me, I think with the likes of Costello, I think with the likes of Jack O'Connor, Jordan Morris, James Conlon as well, who was absolutely on fire the last day, I can only see Meath winning this game, to be honest. I actually think Meath will win this game by 7 or 8 points.
Yeah, it's going to be absolutely very interesting to see how this game goes. And Meath and Mayo seasons have been very, very up and down throughout the campaign. And you look at Mayo, obviously in Division 1, they look very, very promising. Then against Roscommon, they get hammered at the Gaelic semi-final. And then over the last two games, to be fair, against Monaghan and Tyrone, they haven't looked electric, I would say. Switched over to Meath, obviously against Westmeath, they were very, very poor. Lost that game against Cork. Like, to be honest, and it's more to do with Cork's season in many ways. Cork were absolutely incredible in the second half. They deserved a victory in that game. And Meath weren't as bad, I thought, as many people made them out to be. James Condon was absolutely brilliant. Jordan Morris was a guy that many people talked about, but they weren't over-reliant on him. And to win up in Derry without Rory Kinsella, it took serious battle. And Donald Keoghan getting 1-2 as well. It was a brilliant display from him. So I would say Meath have performed slightly better than Mayo in the championship so far. And they won the Division 2 title as well. Plus, they had the All-Ireland semi-final last year. They have that momentum too. So I would say Meath slightly to win this game. I wouldn't say about 7 points, but I think it will be very, very tight. But we will see what happens in that game. Moving on to Sunday's games in the round 3 All-Ireland Senior Football Championship, and it is Dublin against Donegal, not Parnell Park, despite the Dubs outcries. It's in Crow Park on Sunday at 1:15. On Sunday, obviously, it is live on RT2 as well. And we do have a comment in here from Seamus Brady from Moncleha, saying in here, well, lads, it'll be very interesting to see how we get on against Donegal this weekend. If we lose bow out, we've only won one game there all year. That's something there. Absolutely. And hopefully Seamus will enjoy the game on Sunday as well. Peter's saying, remember Meath and Mayo in 1996. Absolutely. So, yeah, Liam, what do you think about the Donegal-Dublin game? Obviously, Dublin probably didn't want this game on in Croke Park because that's where Donegal's bread and butter probably is. They performed absolutely brilliant all season, other than the games against Down and Cork, obviously. Like Donegal will be massive favourites. There's no sugarcoating it. They'll be massive favourites going into this game. And to be honest with you, I was in Ballybuffet last weekend and I thought Donegal were comfortable, I would say, in the first half. They were going through the motions. They were doing what they should be doing, and Cork just thundered back into the game, and it was just Donegal didn't have an answer to them. I don't think they'll make the same mistake this weekend. Like, if they have Dublin on the ropes, they'll try and finish them. So I think Donegal are favourites going into this game. But what do you think?
Yeah, it's hilarious. I think Dublin are probably the only county in the country that's begging not to play in Croke Park. To be honest with you, every other county wants to get there, and they're just saying, no, we don't want to be there anymore. But yeah, look, Donegal will absolutely be favourites going into this weekend. That there's no doubt about that. Dublin, like Seamus said there, like they've only won one game in Croke Park this year, and that was against Monaghan, who during the league campaign, it's not Monaghan of the championship, that was Monaghan of the league, who were an absolute shambles, to be honest with you. So, like, how much do you really read into that victory as well? Do you know? But yeah, look, Donegal, I did say to myself, like, surely they won't be making the same mistakes in the rest of their championship games as they did against Down and then they did against Cork. So you're thinking at this stage, right, once is bad enough, or once you can accept it, twice is bad. If you do it again and you're going to championship, serious question marks to be asked of probably the character of the side. But look, like you said, if they have Dublin on the ropes this weekend, they have just got to go for it, to be honest with you, and they've just got to bury them because, look, as much as Dublin have probably flattered to deceive this season, you leave them in the game long enough. Niall Scully, Costello, Conor O'Callaghan, even the likes of Kieran Kilkenny, who's not playing at his best at the moment, Brian Howard, they're quality players. Paddy Small, they'll grow in confidence, they'll grow in belief, and they'll start to think, oi, if we can knock Donegal out of the championship, just imagine, like, that would just do so much confidence for them. Might even get people back on site to go into their games as well, to be honest with you, because I'm hearing there'll be about 35,000 at the game this weekend, and I'd be interested to know how many of that's actually going to be Donegal, to be honest with you. So, and especially with the fact that it's a 1:15 on a Sunday as well, it's very, very early for a throw-in, but I suppose they have to make up for other games that are going on as well. But yeah, look, Donegal, they just simply have to go for this game, and as well as that, they need to improve their scoring tally. I mean, 113 the last day for a team of Donegal's quality in the forward line, it's just simply not good enough. Now, I know, like you said, they might obviously didn't get to see the game because it wasn't on TV or anything, but like they'd won 7 by halftime, and I know they'd limited Cork to 5 points, but even then, you're like, that's not great, considering this is a team that put up a big scoreline against Kerry in the league, a big scoreline against Kerry in the championship, and even when they lost it down, they still put up was it 121 or 122, something like that. To only put up 113, they'd be very, very disappointed with that. Like they could have 113 by halftime on Sunday. That's the truth. Like, especially with the forwards that they have and the plan that Jimmy will have as well for the Dublin forwards. But like you said, Donegal need to find an answer this weekend. They need to get in control of the game, but then they need to stay in control, and they need to just switch on their flick and just absolutely go for it. Like, they need the likes of Michael Murphy to just barricade his way through defenders and blast the ball into net. They need Oisin Gallen. They need O'Donnell, the two O'Donnells. They need Kieran Moore didn't score last weekend. Do you know what I mean? Like, he didn't score last weekend. Like, they need him to be right on it this weekend. They need their backlines, their full backline, or not the full backline, their half backline to be bombing up the field. The likes of McHugh and Rorty, if he's playing at wing back, or Pattermogue, whichever one. They need to be bombing up the field and going at this Dublin defence, because it can be there to be got at. They conceded 4 goals against Louth. Like, it's not the same Dublin defence as it used to be. Do you know what I mean? So, like, Donegal have to go for the juggler this weekend. They have to go at this Dublin defence, and once they do that, I think they should win this game. Sorry, Aaron and James, they should win this game rather comfortably if they do go for the juggler. And I say that as I know my sister's housemates with Davy Byrne. So Davy, if you're watching, I'm terribly sorry. But look, Dublin, the longer they stay in the game, the more their confidence will grow. But just given their record in Croke Park this season, and the fact that Donegal, let's be honest, it's going to be a pissed off Donegal after last weekend. I think Donegal should win this game rather comfortably. Maybe not like a high scoreline, but they should win it with like the type of scoreline that just says we were never in trouble.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll probably back Donegal to win this game as well. And talking about crowds going to Croke Park as well. Like, the thing is, like, with the Donegal crowd last week, it wasn't, I would say, anger after the game in Ballybuffet. Funnily enough, I think the Donegal fans were just in disbelief, to be honest with you. Walking down the street. To be fair, I will say this: the Donegal fans were very, very gracious in defeat. Absolutely brilliant. I have to say it. They were shaking your hands and saying, "We'll meet you in the All Ireland final in July." Obviously, that would be jokingly. Look at Cork's luck over the last few years. But you never know. But exactly so. But yeah, it's no. But Donegal, they are better than that. They looked very, very good in the first half. They looked very comfortable last week. even at the early stage of the second half, you were kind of thinking it's boring enough. It isn't great football to watch, but Donegal are still getting the job done over the line. But I think a flick of the switch, really. I think it's just something as small as this. I think it was Michael Murphy's challenge on Dar Sheedy just about maybe under halfway through the second half. I think that kind of buoyed up the car players, and Donegal just had no answer, to be honest with you, in that game. But look, that's Donegal Cork, and I do think Donegal will bounce back and win this game. Like, it'll be major disappointment for Donegal to win the league title and then to lose to Down, Cork, and Dublin to go out of the All-Ireland Championship. They'd be massively disappointed if that was to happen. So, I don't think they'll allow it to happen, to be honest with you. And I do think Donegal will get the job done against Dublin this weekend. And we will see how it all plays out. But yeah, a lot of comments coming in here about the game as expected there as well. Peter Singer's score prediction 125 to 22 points in favour of Donegal. So all our predictions are in sync at the moment, Liam. We're all saying that Kerry, Donegal and Meath all progress, which actually means for my own County Cork, we automatically play the winners of this next game, provided those predictions do come true. Monaghan against Meath. This is on Sunday at 4 p.m. in Clonus, St. Ernest Park in Clonus. Again, it's a very hard game to call. Monaghan have been very impressive this year, and I think Gabriel Bannigan, I've seen an interview with him recently saying he doesn't care what the media think. All he cares about is the players in the dressing room, and I think that's a brilliant kind of attitude to have. You have Conor McCarthy performing well, you have Jack McCarron absolutely shooting the lights out as well. To win as well as they did without the likes of Bobby McCall coming off the bench, I think was absolutely brilliant, admirable in many ways from Monaghan perspective. Westmeath kind of got crashing back down to earth after that game against Galway last week in a way. But do you expect Westmeath to bounce back in this game, or do you expect Monaghan to win in Clonus again?
They must be sick of it, but I could see this being an extra time game, to be honest with you. And I'd say Westmeath are absolutely sick of extra time, to be honest with you. Like, I've interviewed poor Jerry Buckley over the last couple of games, and he says himself his poor heart can't take more extra time games for Westmeath at all. Now, as much as they're winning them, he's just thinking, can we just win a game in normal time at this stage? But no, I think this has the makings of a really, really, really good game of football, because I think they're two teams who play excellent football, attacking football. They have two really passionate managers on the sideline as well. And they're both, like, this is the thing, right? Galway, they were the better side against Westmeath, and even Mark McHugh said it himself that on the balance of play, Galway were better. But the energy and the fit, do you know what? Westmeath kind of reminded me of like Croatia at the 2018 World Cup. Like, they probably weren't the best side, but by God, the energy that they had and the fitness that they had was just second to none, just to get their way back into games. And like, at the end of the day, Westmeath last weekend were potentially either a goal, like they brought back the 2 points just before Galway went up the other end and got that fisted score from, who was it? I can't think off the top of my head who it was that got the final point for Galway. But like, they were, at that moment, a goal away from knocking Galway out and a 2-pointer away from going to extra time again. Do you know what I mean? So, and the momentum would have been completely on their side. So it's one thing, Westmeath could be down by 8-9 points with 5 minutes to go in this game, and I would still say, lads, this game's not over. Do you know what I mean? Because the likes of Ronan Wallace will still have a lot of energy about him. Matthew Whitaker, the likes of Breon Cooney, McCartins, you know, these players, Brandon Kelly, who has been excellent this season. And they're doing all this without Luke Loughlin as well, which is even more impressive, to be honest with you. So, look, they're a team with great energy. They have a great attitude, to be fair. And they're going really well this season. But at the same time, I am a big fan of this Monaghan side, and I was disappointed with how they performed in the league, because I always thought, no, this side is better than this. And then the championship came around, and sure, Jesus, they brought Armagh to extra time in the Ulster final after coming back. Monaghan are sort of the same as, they're kind of perfectly matched for each other this weekend, because Monaghan did the same against Derry. You know, they were getting battered in the Ulster championship match, like, as in, not even just on the scoreline, but I think physically and mentally all over the field, Derry were better. And then Monaghan just, they won it. Do you know what I mean? And they still nearly got a result against Mayo when they were down and out. And then last weekend, they started really poorly against Roscommon, and then they blitzed them. Do you know what I mean? So if anything, this could be the makings of, like, Westmeath could be 9 points up at half time, and then Monaghan could be 9 points up with 5 minutes to go, and then we'll get a draw. Do you know what I mean? It could just be an absolutely bonkers game like that. And this is the game, I'm going to throw it in, I think this is the game that goes to penalties this weekend. And I actually am, now maybe it's biased because I'm working with Middlehands, but I am actually going to go with Westmeath to win this game. I think their hunger to get to an All-Ireland quarter-final will be there. I think they'll want to right sort of the wrongs of last weekend. Like last weekend was their first championship defeat of the season, which is remarkable for them. And considering the opponents that they've had as well, it's been fantastic. And the way that they've gone about their games too. I'm going to go with Westmeath to win this game this weekend on penalties, but I do think it's going to be one of the games of the season.
It definitely has the potential to be the game of the season, considering Monaghan's maybe chaos elements to the game, that they kind of end very, very fast but start very slowly. Westmeath, because of the season that they have had, going to extra time in plenty of games, I can definitely see it go to penalties as well. I'm going to go different on you, though. I'm going to go for Monaghan to get over the line. I think experience is a massive thing, and they will get over the line due to that in many ways as well. The experienced heads that they have on the pitch. Gabriel Bannigan obviously would have been used to getting to an All-Ireland quarterfinal with Monaghan last year, obviously falling short to Donegal, but they were very, very close in that game. And now Monaghan... Sorry?
Should have won it, in my opinion. They were 7 points up at half-time.
Possibly, yeah. They might have even won it. Yeah, they just had the belief to go on and win that game. So yeah, it's going to be a very, very tight encounter and could go either way, honestly. But I'm going to stick it to Monaghan just because of the experience element. That would be the big thing for them. But that is the All-Ireland Senior Football Championship round 3 games covered. So we will move on to the Tailteann Cup now, and we'll start off chronologically and go on to Down and Fermanagh. These both Tailteann Cup semi-finals are on Saturday in Croke Park instead of Sunday this year. I think that's been changed because there's been plenty of games here and there, obviously with Donegal and Dublin being on Sunday and things like that, Cork and Offaly as well. So the Tailteann Cup gets their slot on Saturday afternoon. So starting off at 3 o'clock, you have Down in Fermanagh in Croke Park. And this is also live at RT. I'm not sure is it RT2 or RT News Channel because of the World Cup, but it's somewhere at RT anyway. RT2. So yeah, it's an interesting game in many ways. I know Down are the favourites for this competition, but I looked at Fermanagh's maybe scoring stats. Like you have the likes of Conor Love, Dara McGurn, Garvin Jones, Stephen McGullion. Like these guys are absolutely on fire for Fermanagh in this competition, especially McGurn in particular. So can they put up a challenge to this Down team?
Well, you'd hope they can, to be honest with you, because, I mean, they sort of owe their fans, in a way, in a Tailteann Cup semi-final after what was an absolute car crash against Kildare last year, both from a neutral perspective and I think from a Fermanagh perspective. They'll want to right the wrongs of that. But like you said, yeah, they have the capabilities of doing it. Now, listen, Sligo last weekend, Sligo have just been on the downward spiral all season, so maybe it's not too much of a surprise that Fermanagh did to them what they did. But at the same time, to put up 226 in a Tailteann Cup quarter final is very, very impressive going. And they showed kind of like what Donegal probably needs to do to Dublin this weekend. They had Sligo by the ropes and they just kept punching and punching and punching. They showed no mercy whatsoever. And that's probably a good sign from them, to be honest with you. I think they're being managed really well this year as well. I think they've, like you said, they have some really good forwards in their team. And listen, I've seen Down this season. They're not unbeatable. Do you know what I mean? They are beat. Jesus, we haven't even reached an hour and a quarter yet, and I'm already getting delusional. They are a beatable team. Do you know? Like, listen, they blitzed Laois last weekend. Laois were just not up to the same standard last weekend as Down were, to be honest with you. But I think Fermanagh could put up a really, really serious challenge to them this weekend, especially with the fact that it is an Ulster derby as well. You know, they might not be the biggest of rivals or anything like that, but it is still an Ulster clash in Croke Park. And this thing as well, we've mentioned it kind of all season. Do Down want to be in the Tailteann Cup? Now, it's a bit ridiculous maybe to be saying that considering they're in a semi-final now, but how much hunger are they going to have to go and win the Tailteann Cup again? Whereas for Fermanagh, this would do such wonders for them to go and win the Tailteann Cup, to finally go and get themselves a piece of silverware. And I mean, I'm not being funny. I could imagine that Declan Bonner would absolutely love it to win a championship title in Croke Park, to be honest with you. I think he would absolutely gawk at the opportunity of that. So, look, Down have some fantastic players, Daniel Guinness, the likes of Oren Murdoch, you know, Pat Havern up front. You know, like they have some really, really good forwards in their team, a lot of really, really top-class players. But when you put it up against them, they can falter under pressure. I will say that. Like they suffered massively against us. You saw it against Armagh. They weren't up to their level in the semi-finals. So, but look, at the same time, Down have an excellent manager as well. In Conor Laverty. So I can imagine that their mentality this weekend will be simply, listen, we got to go win this. We're here for a reason. you know, it's our own fault we're here. Let's go and win this championship and prove that we should be a Sam Maguire team for next season. So look, I am going to back down to win the game. Like I said, they are favourites going into it. I think they should have too much quality in the end for Fermanagh. But at the same time, it does depend on what down. If the down team that turned up against Armagh or Offaly turns up, Fermanagh have a great chance. If the down team that turned up against Donegal, and I would even say Laois last weekend, then Down should win this game rather comfortably.
Yeah, I think Down, if Down put it up in many ways, if Down performs at their best of their ability, you would expect Down to win the game in more ways than one. Fermanagh have been very impressive in this competition. I'm sure Down will be thinking to the back of their minds as well. They'd rather be in the round 3 games rather than Croke Park this weekend. And that's not being a disrespect to the Tailteann Cup or anything like that. It's just a matter of the fact Down really want to be in All-Ireland's Senior Football Championship side. So they'll be gutted that they aren't one of them. So that might be one thing then in Fermanagh's favour. As you said there, Fermanagh will be gunning to get to the Tailteann Cup final because like it'd be their biggest day out. Arguably, I know they had that day out against Dublin in 2015 in Croke Park, but it'll be Fermanagh's arguably biggest day since the All-Ireland semi-final of 2004. I'll be honest with you. So, like, there is that kind of element as well. I'd stick it to Down slightly, but I'm going to say Fermanagh really, really bloodied under nose in many ways, considering Down might want to be in a different competition rather than this one. And obviously, Liam, sorry?
Watch Down fucking hockey them now, as we've said that.
Anyway, moving on to the next game, Wicklow against Offaly on Saturday at 5 p.m. in Croke Park. And Wicklow, impressive victory over Antrim last weekend. Dean Healy, absolutely incredible. The guy is just Lazarus, really, with the last minute points and everything like that. Obviously, with Offaly, they've been exemplary in this competition. They've been absolutely incredible. But can they continue that form and get to a Tailteann Cup final?
They absolutely can, because it's the first time I would say, well, no, I think last year, to be fair, I think we were taking it more seriously, but it's like the first time in years where it feels like we're actually taking the Tailteann Cup seriously, because we're just finally saying, listen, we're here. This is our level. We need to put up with it and just go and perform. Because I would say, look, 2022, I'd say we did take it seriously, but then, look, Westmeath destroyed us in the semi-final that we were in 4 years ago, and they were the best side in it. They went on to win it. So I suppose can't read too much maybe into that one. 2023, we went out very, very much on a whimper to Wexford. You know, we'd lost the semi-final in Leinster to Louth, and there was just a sense of, I don't know, inevitability maybe that we were probably going to go out during that season. There was a lot of issues off the pitch as well. 2024, the defeat to London kind of summed up our year, to be honest with you. And then last year, I think we did take it seriously. It's just we lost to Kildare by a point, which was just really, really heartbreaking, especially with the fact that Kildare went on to win it as well. But I am very happy with the attitude of the Offaly players since the Tailteann Cup started, because look, if we're being honest about it, look, I love the lads and I'll always back them, but the league campaign was very disappointing, and they know that themselves. Even Keith O'Neill, when he spoke to Cúilín Media after the Down game, he'd said the crowds were gone because we weren't giving them much to really support. But since the Laois defeat, it's almost like something ignited in them. And look, getting players back is obviously crucial. We got Jack Bryant back, we got Kyle Higgins back, we got Dylan Hyland back. You know, you get some really crucial players back at a really crucial time, which is always going to be helpful. But the Clare win, the Down performance, more than the win, the performance against Down, and I would say the performance against Wexford, because I was even speaking to Declan Kelly, and anyone who's interested to listen to that full interview would be out on ahead of the game tomorrow night on Midlands 103. But even Declan said himself, we were agreeing with each other that Wexford were up by 6 at half time, but Offaly were playing the better football. They were absolutely playing the better football. Wexford kicked a couple of 2-pointers, and, you know, they were nice scores, but they got a fortuitous goal, and Offaly were playing really, really nice football in the first half. They just happened to be 6 points down with a very heavy wind. Second half, they outscored Wexford 112 to 4 points. Do you know what I mean? They just came out and they absolutely blitzed them. So, look, Offaly need to play that same style of football. They need to apply the same type of pressure. They looked more refreshed and more energetic last weekend. The likes of Cormac Egan, Lee Pearson, Shane O'Toole-Green, Jack McAvoy, like, they actually looked like they've been reborn, you know, with the Tailteann Cup, to be honest. Maybe the break that they had between the Laois game and the Clare game did them the world of good, to be honest. It just gave them time to just relax and take a step back. So they played a lot of football for the first few months of the year, and they've just kicked on since. So, look, And for that comment about Silence McConville. Listen, I've met McConville. He's a lovely fella. I've interviewed him. He's a very, very nice man. And I've all the time in the world for him and him as a character as well. And I think he's done a fabulous job with Wicklow. And this is going to be tough this weekend. Make no mistake about it. Going up to Antrim and getting the victory that they did is not an easy thing to do. And it's quite ironic that Dean Healy gets the winning point again in a quarter-final 2 years in a row as well. So I hope he doesn't do that again this weekend. I'd be heartbroken if he gets another winning point this weekend. But I think Croke Park will suit us. We played in Croke Park last year against Kildare. I think it's a ground that will suit our forwards. It'll suit the likes of Cormac Egan bombing up and down the field. I think it'll suit the likes of Jordan Hayes, who's well able to move and well able to run. I'm going to back us to win this weekend. Obviously, look, I know it's probably biased as well, but I am going to back us. I think the lads even coming off the bench are making good impacts at the moment. Harry Plunkett's coming off the bench and is making a big impact. A lot of people probably want him to start at this stage, and I would like to maybe see him start at some stage, but at the same time, the forwards that we have in there at the moment are doing very, very well, and it'd be harsh to maybe drop any of them at the moment. And look, you've Niall Furlong there, you've Nathan Poland, Rory Egan. You've some good options off the bench. Ian Bracken came on the last day as well, a bit of solidness at the back. Darren McDade didn't play the last day, he's another option. So, look, it's a big weekend for us, a chance to get to a first ever Taoiseach Cup final, and I think we're going to do it.
Yeah, I think Offaly will do it as well. Like Wicklow have been impressive in the last few seasons, and maybe the semi-final experience might be a benefit to them. Obviously, last season losing narrowly to Limerick, but Offaly have been impressive all Tailteann Cup campaign. I expect that to continue, and it will continue into the Tailteann Cup final. Before we leave football, there are 2 All-Ireland minor football championship semi-finals to look at. So Tyrone play against Kildare on Friday night. That game is on in Kingspan Breffni, and you have Cork against Derry in the other semi-final. I am going to that game in Parnell Park on Saturday afternoon. Look at them, those 2 semi-finals, the Tyrone, Kildare and Cork all won the provincial championships. Derry obviously overcoming Roscommon in the quarterfinal. Roscommon won the Connacht championship, but Tyrone battered Derry really in that Ulster final. They'll probably be favourites to win the minor championship again, considering the pool that they produce. Kildare, it's a bit of a weird one. They beat Meath on penalties in the Leinster Championship, but then Meath get absolutely hammered in the quarterfinal by Cork. But maybe it just emphasises how good this Cork minor team actually is. And Keith Ricken and Maurice Moore have done an absolutely incredible job, I have to say, with the minor team. And a lot of people are actually... Some people are saying Derry will be favourites going into it because of their history in the minor championship in recent times. But Cork have performed very, very well in the last few weeks, beating Kerry and Tralee by 10 points, beating Kerry in the Munster final after extra time, and hammering Meath in the All-Ireland quarter-final with the way that they did. Cork's top scorer, amazingly, is their goalkeeper, Rory Tuig, who went semi-viral in the last round of the quarter-final for kicking a 2-pointer from nearly 60 metres out. Will he do the same again? I'm not sure. So yeah, look at those semi-finals. It's interesting to see the likes of Cork and Kildare there, but Derry and Tyrone, Ulster sides are normally strong in the minor championship.
Have to say that free the last day was absolutely sensational. It was an absolute, I don't know how anyone's actually physically able to kick a Gaelic football, whatever about a soccer ball, a Gaelic football from that far out and get it over the bar. So kudos to him for that. But yeah, like you mentioned with the Leinster final in particular, Meath threw that game away. If we're being honest about it, they were 4 points up. Now, in fairness to Kildare, they came back into it in the end, and they managed to get the draw in the end in normal time and managed to go on and win the game in the end, which was absolutely fantastic from their perspective. I mean, Tennyson, he got the goal and the point at the end to salvage it. And I mean, the point that he got to level the game in normal time, he was definitely going for goal as well. I don't care what anyone says. He was going for goal again. He was just in the mood, the power that he struck it with. But yeah, like you said, Kildare did really well to win that. And look, they're in a great position now. But at the same time, like you said, Tyrone are very, very strong at minor, like you said. They were absolutely fantastic in that Ulster final. I would still give Cork a chance this weekend against Derry, to be honest with you. I wouldn't be backing against them or anything like that, in a really big way or anything like that. I actually think I'll actually back you this weekend to get the job done against Derry. Do I see beating Tyrone possibly in an All-Ireland final? Maybe not. I think Tyrone are just very strong at the moment at Ulster. But yeah, look, I think Kildare will put up a fight. They're a team that fight to the end. They're not a team that give up or anything like that, as proven by the Leinster final. But yeah, I think Tyrone should win their semi-final. I'm actually going to go with Cork to edge it against Derry.
Yeah, I'll back our lads to get the job done against Derry. They've been incredible all competition, and they've really stamped a claim at Cork football this season. The under-20s did the same, and obviously with the seniors beating Donegal as well. It has been a good year for Cork football, to be fair. So, yeah, I think they will get the job done against Derry, and Tyrone against Kildare. I would go for Tyrone as well, considering the way they won that Ulster final, the way they battered Galway really in the All-Ireland quarter-final as well. Kildare put up an impressive display against Kerry, you have to say, in the quarter-final there. So they do have a chance, a really good fighting chance by Tyrone to win that game as well. So that is the football wrapped up. We will move on to the hurling. There's only 2 games of the hurling this weekend, but they're absolutely massive. We will get on to our fisticuffs in just a sec, Liam, but we will start off with this game. Clare against Dublin on Saturday at 7 p.m. in Semple Stadium, Thurles. On RTE. Interesting game, this one. And to be honest with you, I don't know which way this game is going to go. Clare were comfortable winners, I would say, in the Gaelic grounds, even when they brought Shane O'Donnell off at halftime in the league final. Dublin were very, very disappointing in that Leinster final. Clare were very disappointing against Cork in their last outing as well. So 2 sides with a point to prove, and a very interesting encounter going ahead on Saturday.
It's 2 teams that really, really disappointed in their final 2 games in the provincial championships, and they both need bounce backs this weekend. I would probably say, I actually would say Clare needed more than Dublin in a weird way. Now, I say that, and it's probably stupid to be saying it considering Clare won the All-Ireland 2 years ago, and Dublin, haven't won a championship title of any description since 2013, but I think Dublin were excellent in the Leinster Championship. They just were very disappointing in the Leinster final, and Neil O'Callaghan said it himself that they were disappointing enough, and they didn't kick on, especially when Donald Burke got the goal that brought it back to 6 points, and Conor Whelan was off for the black card incident. But Clare, I have to be honest, I wasn't impressed with Clare in the Munster Championship at all. I know they bet Waterford on the opening day, and they did really well to grind that result out. And they put up a huge scoreline. 233 is nothing to be laughed at. And they did go to Tipperary, and they won in very, very good fashion as well. But having said that, Tipperary were disappointing in the championship. Let's be honest about it. They were very disappointing in the championship. And then you get Waterford. I mean, Clare conceded 4 goals against Waterford, and that was my big concern with Clare this season, their full back line. They conceded, I think they conceded 3 goals against Dublin in that league final. They conceded 4 against Waterford. Cork, I know in a way, look, Cork, especially when Brian Hayes got that goal, you were in the Munster final, and Clare just said, we're not winning this, and it kind of turned into a bit of a training session for Cork. But at the same time, Clare were lackluster against Cork, and look at them against Limerick. They were absolutely shocking against Limerick, to be honest with you. So, look, and Peter says in the comments there that Clare will be fresher going into this game. That's absolutely no doubt about it. But at the same time, I do just worry for Clare in a weird way. Look, Clare could go out this weekend and they could hockey Dublin out the gate, and they could destroy them, considering the fact as well that Dublin, they don't like Thurles. Let's be honest about it. They hate going to Semple Stadium. I mean, can you remember off the top of your head, was it 2015 the last time they actually won a game in Thurles against Limerick, that All-Ireland qualifier? I think it was. Yeah, they lost to Tipperary for a couple of years down in Thurles. They lost to Cork 2 years ago, albeit they put up a good fight against them. They only lost by 5 points, especially after that hockey they got against Kilkenny in the Leinster final just previously. But it's the thing, Dublin, they can't be as bad this weekend as they were 2 weeks ago. I saw Dublin during the championship. They're a very good team. They play really nice hurling. A lot of their players were just very, very average the last day. That is the truth of it. A lot of that was also down to how Galway played and how Galway operated as well. I think this is going to be a very, very tight game. I could see this game, and the 2 games that they played against each other this season. Now, I do agree with what you did say. Clare were far more comfortable in the league final, and especially the fact they were able to take off the likes of Shane O'Donnell at half-time kind of told you everything you need to say about it. But they also played in the first round of the league, and Clare won it in the last minute. So they're 2 evenly enough matched teams to a degree when they do face off against each other. I probably would still back Clare to win this weekend, just maybe a bit of experience as well with the likes of Tony Kelly, Shane O'Donnell, John Conlon, all these type of players. But at the same time, I would not be shocked if Dublin did win it, because Neil O'Callaghan, I think, will want to build on last season and build on this season. Listen, one bad game against Galway, I don't think defines Dublin's season. They were fantastic in the Leinster Championship. They beat the likes of Kilkenny. They beat Galway. They beat Wexford down in Wexford Park. rather comfortably without much of a fuss, which they haven't been able to do for a number of years. Sean Curry came back the last day, came off the bench. At least he's another player that got a couple of minutes under his belt. I think they'll try and come up with a bit more new tactics this weekend other than just lumping the ball into John Heatherton. They're going to have to come up with something else, They had no Keelan O'Sullivan the last day. I don't know what his situation is like for this weekend. If they have him for this weekend, that's a real big game changer for them. Even Brendan Kenny was his replacement 2 weeks ago, and I thought he actually did relatively well in the first half. In fairness to the young lad, he got one in particular nice score from out near the sideline, which was really, really impressive from him. I don't expect Brian Hayes to be as overrun maybe this game as he was kind of the last day. So I think it's going to be a very even match, but I could just see Clare, just that little bit of cuteness, that little bit of experience. I could just see them getting over the line by 3 points. So Aaron and Seamus, I do profoundly apologise.
Aaron and Seamus having two of their county teams going out at the same weekend.
What happened to me as well?
Might. We'll see. But yeah. I'd say Clare will go out and win this game as well. It's just Dublin. It's hard to ignore that performance in the Leinster final, I have to say, in that overall. I would say Clare will get over the line. I think they're better than what they showed against Limerick and against Cork. Like Shane O'Donnell, Tony Kelly, they have the capacity to fire in this. And as for Dublin, look, they've looked poor at stages in the Leinster Championship. I know they won most of their games, but against Offaly should have beat them, let's be honest, in O'Connor Park. I thought Offaly were the better team that night. They beat a poor enough Kilkenny team, let's be honest. And Clare, against Tipperary, they were very, very comfortable. You can't forget that. In Semple Stadium itself in Thurles, they were very, very comfortable that night, and they got the job done. Okay, Cork was another real blip for them, and I'm sure they'll want to get back up the horse. So Clare to win, according to myself and Liam. So here we go for the next quarter-final. And there's no introduction needed. Cork against Offaly in Thurles on Sunday at 3:30, live on RT. Massive game for both our counties' name here between Offaly and Cork. And actually, breaking news, the Cork team has been announced. In the Star Sport podcast this week, I interviewed Darragh Fitzgibbon and asked how his recovery is going with appendicitis and things like that. He's saying he's in the middle of the 4 to 6 week recovery period. That's what his quotes were in the Star Sport podcast. Well, believe it or not, lads, he starts at number 9. So Darragh Fitzgibbon is starting this weekend.
Fucking shot.
I'll name the full team here. Patrick Collins in goal, Niall O'Leary, Damien Callahan and Sean O'Donoghue in the full back line, Owen Downey, Robert Downey and Mark Coleman in the half back line, Brian Roach and Darragh Fitzgibbon midfield, obviously with Tim O'Mahony and Tommy O'Connell out for injury. Hugh O'Connor, interesting choice at wing forward, alongside Shane Barrett and Dermot Healy, Alan Connolly, Brian Hayes and Alan Walsh in the full forward line. William Buckley has been dropped to the bench. That's a very interesting call by Ben O'Connor, I have to say. He's been one of Cork's really big performers in the championship so far. You have on the bench there, Barry Walsh is also on the bench. Hugh O'Connor's come in for him. That's another big call for Ben O'Connor. Huge calls there, both of them. So, Liam, first of all, what do you think of that team being named there? And second of all, for Offaly, it's a massive occasion for Offaly to get to the All-Ireland quarter-final, to play against Cork. And let's not forget, those Offaly players, most of the team, would have played in that under-20 All-Ireland final in 2023 in the same venue against Cork and competed quite well. So you'd be confident enough going to Thurles, no matter what people say. It is going to be a tough game for Cork.
Oh, listen, we're going into it with nothing to lose, to be honest with you, because at the end of the day, it's been a fantastic season for us in the championship. Getting as far as the All-Ireland quarterfinals for, the first time in 23 years is an achievement in itself. And, like you said, probably should have beaten Dublin the opening day, should have beaten Kilkenny and Tullamore, got the win against Wexford, which was such a massive moment for us, just in terms of confidence and belief and everything like that. And then the win against Kildare, coupled with Kilkenny losing in the end to Dublin. It's been a fantastic season for us. And what's been a difficult season as well. Look, everyone obviously knows what's gone on with poor Charlie Mitchell. We don't need to go into that or anything like that. But not just him, Donal Shirley's had his injury problems this season. You've had other players who've missed various stages of the season. Killian Sampson's missed various stages of the season. James Mahan has missed a huge portion of the season. We've missed a lot of players. Brecken Kavanagh is going to be basically out for this weekend, or at least I imagine he will be. He hasn't featured for a while anyway since the Dublin game. But we've had our own challenges, but we've come through them. There's a bit of a steelness amongst this Offaly panel at the moment. Now, look, having said that, this is a level up. This is a step up from what we have played this season. And look, you saw it in the league with the way we were dismantled down in Páirc Uí Chaoimh. But the only thing I will say is, look, Cork were in the league final. We were already relegated. I can imagine that was a night where both teams just said, don't get injuries. Don't care what the result is. Just do not get anyone injured. And we'll be quite happy with that and we'll just go home. So I don't see it being like that again. I could see it maybe being sort of like how it was maybe 2 years ago when we met you in the All-Ireland qualifier, in that we've nothing to lose. We're just going to go for it and just see what happens. Like you mentioned, a lot of those lads would have played against Cork, and some of those Cork players would have played in that All-Ireland final 2 years ago as well. So they're well used to each other. Some of them are well used to playing in Semple Stadium at this stage. For other Offaly players, it'll be the first time playing in Semple Stadium, or at least playing in a game of this magnitude. Like, I don't know if it's a sellout game or not, but it's going to be a huge crowd there in Thurles on Sunday. And the RT cameras are going to be on you. You know, like the country be watching, you know. So it's an opportunity for the likes of your Adam Screenys, the likes of your Dan Burks, the likes of your Shane Rigneys, your Killian Sampsons, Ben Keneally's, these types of players to really shine and show what they're all about, to be honest with you. In particular, like the likes of Dan Burke has been absolutely exceptional this season. Ben Keneally, for me, I think if we were to win this weekend, Ben Keneally, I think, would be in for an All-Star, or at least in for a shout for an All-Star, to be honest with you. Like, listen, it's going to be a very tough it's going to be a tough battle for Offaly. There's no doubt about it. And like you mentioned there, just getting onto the Cork team, like you mentioned, Dara Fitzgibbon being back. I mean, I don't like hearing that at all, because I think Dara Fitzgibbon is Cork's best hurler. If there was a transfer market in the morning, I would take him from Cork 100%, to be honest with you. I love the way he hurls. I think he brings a lot of energy to the team. His fitness levels is off the charts. But then, like you mentioned, seeing the likes of William Buckley on the bench, I'm like, I like that. I don't mind seeing that. But then you look at the strength and depth that Cork have, and it is frightening. I mean, sure, you look at your bench, like you mentioned, Micheál Mullins, Ethan Toomey, Barry Walsh, Robbie O'Flynn, Shane Kingston, Seamus Harnedy, I should say. Like, it's a star-studded bench. Do you know what I mean? It's a very, very good bench, and you don't have, you don't have O'Connell and you don't have Tim O'Mahony. Do you know what I mean? Like, that just says a lot about the Cork team. So I think where we're going to have to really go at Cork is probably the full back line, to be honest with you. Like, we'll need, I imagine the full forward line probably will be Cahill, Dignan and Screeney. We need those three to really be on it this weekend. Like, we need Dignan to be winning high ball. We need Adam Screeney to be we need every touch to be absolutely exquisite. Sort of like how we played against Cork in that final a couple of years ago. You know, we just need him to be on his game like that. We need Owen Cahill to perform like he has the last 3 games. He's put up huge scorelines. We need that again from him. Dan Burke will do his own thing. I've no issues about him. He's one of the few players in the country that when he just gets on the ball, I'm just like, yeah, we're fine. He's not going to lose it. He's not going to do anything bad with it or anything like that. I'm fairly certain with him on the ball. You need your players like Conor Doyle to be, running about and trying to tackle players, because he's probably more known for his defensive work and dirty work than he is for his scoring. We need to get Shane Rigney on the ball, to be honest with you, because when he starts running with pace, it's very hard to stop him. We need Turgainen to be fit, to be honest with you. We desperately need him to be fit. He came off against Kildare. He's had a couple of weeks to rest, so I'm hoping he'll be fit for this game. But look, it's going to be a tough game for us, but I do still equally think it'll be a tough game for Cork, because at the same time, we talk about the mentality of down going into this game after, winning Tailteann, say, 2 years ago and thinking, do they want to be in this? It depends what Cork turns up this weekend as well, because we could either get a pissed off Cork that just goes out and annihilates us out the gate and just says, put that game to bed and just go forward to the semi-final against Galway. Or we could get the Cork that played against Dublin 2 years ago that could be very like, do we want to be here today? We're still not over the Munster final. And it could be a much closer game than people even think before the ball's thrown in. So look, I think it probably maybe depends on what Cork turns up, because I know what Offaly's going to turn up. It's going to be a team that has nothing to lose, and it's just going to go out there and try to play their best type of hurling that they can. But listen, I'm hopeful, but I'm not stupid. I think Cork will win this weekend. I would love it if we won it. Absolutely. I'd love another day out for these lads. But I think Cork, along with Limerick, are the best side in the country at the moment. And I think Ben O'Connor will not want to go out at the quarterfinal stages. Like, as much as we saw Dublin knocking out Limerick last year, unfortunately for me, I don't think lightning strikes twice.
Yeah, that was what I was mentioning in the preview and the start this week about the Dublin Limerick game last year. Like, Limerick in that game, they just looked lethargic and they just didn't look up for it. If Cork, and I absolutely agree with you, if Cork aren't up for this game from the very start and they don't smell the bacon until it's too late, they could be in trouble. Now, I think Cork do have enough quality to get over the line against Offaly, but that team named, and a few comments mentioned there about the team. Darragh Fitzgibbon be back, absolutely brilliant for us. I think that's a brilliant move by Ben O'Connor. He might not be maybe the fittest he's ever been. Look, I've had my appendix burst, and I tell you, it's not nice. It is not a nice illness, I would say, to have. Your fitness severely. Sorry?
Is it risky to be throwing him in?
Possibly. Like, from what I was talking to him on Monday for the Star Sport podcast, obviously, by what he was saying, he's ready to go. He is ready to go. It's just what the doctors believe, and clearly the doctors have told Ben O'Connor he's ready to go. And we'll see if it does backfire and things like that on Sunday. But it's not like a hamstring, it's not like a quad, it's nothing like that. It's basically, it's an illness. It's like the appendix. That is, like, you have to have it removed and things like that. That will be more of a fitness issue than maybe putting up with a hamstring, if you know what I mean. So I don't think he'll go off early, to be honest, like in the first half or whatever. He might go off with maybe 20 minutes to go. Maybe something like that. Juby might come on and replace him and things like that. The ones I'm shocked about is Barry Walsh being dropped and William Buckley being dropped. Barry Walsh, I get Barry Walsh to an extent. I think Barry Walsh is a young player. He will learn, and as the years go on, and it was a difficult day for him against Limerick the last day, and you can't sugarcoat that. So I think, look, Barry Walsh may deserve a rest and things like that. To be honest, I'm surprised it's not Shane Kingston or somebody coming in for Barry Walsh if that is the case. With William Buckley, I'm absolutely shocked. I don't know what is the decision behind that, because he has been, in my opinion, in all-star form this season. I will go as far as saying that. I think he's been creating space for the other Cork forwards, the likes of Hayes, the likes of Connolly, the likes of Shane Barrett. I think he has been creating space, and he has really stamped his claim in terms of top scorers lists and things like that as well. So I'm shocked that he's out. Look, Tim O'Mahony and Tommy O'Connell are injured. Brian Roach, I think, is an able replacement to come into midfield. So that was to be expected. The bottom line is, if Cork aren't on it, if we perform the same way Limerick did against Dublin last year, we could be in massive trouble. Because, as you said, with Offaly, they've nothing to lose. They'll go out with their hearts on their sleeves and everything like that, and give it their all throughout the game. If Cork keep their eye off the ball, they could be in massive trouble in this game. But I think Cork will get over the line. But it's just how the game will go depends on Cork's attitude, in my opinion. The thing is, if we go out and say that we want to prove everyone wrong after the final, we're going to go hell for leather for this, we could score a lot of goals in the first half. We are that kind of a team. We did it against Dublin last year in the All-Ireland semi-final as well. But the longer the game goes on and the less concentrated we are, the more trouble we'll be in. Look, we'll see what happens on Sunday, but it should be an absolutely brilliant game in many ways as well. There is a few comments coming in here as well. A lot of comments here from Peter. Asking Liam here, did you hear Johnny Pilkington shoot on his bench podcast?
I've not listened to the full thing yet. I've listened to some bits of it, especially where he says at one stage the university thought he was training with Offaly, and Offaly thought he was training with the university. He just wasn't training at all. You don't get those types of characters anymore. And I worked with Johnny last year with the Offaly under-20s, and the character you see on your screens is the same character off camera. He's an absolute hero. He's a legend in Offaly, very much loved, and not afraid to take the piss, not afraid to have the piss ripped out of him. He's a brilliant character. Managed my club at one stage as well, so he's huge respect for putting up with us as well for a period of time too. But I'll give it a listen maybe this weekend. Haven't got a chance to listen to it yet, but I'd say it was a good barrel of laughs, I'd imagine.
Yeah, exactly. So, and it should be an absolutely brilliant game between Cork and Offaly on the Sunday. So that is the hurling wrapped up. We will move on to the LGFA now, and there is some final round games in this. Cork aren't playing in Group 1 this weekend, but we are hoping for results here. Armagh against Waterford. This game is on the Athletic Grounds on Saturday at 3 p.m. Now, the situation is, when I talk about Cork, obviously they're not involved in the game. but they need Armagh to get a result to get to the All-Ireland quarterfinals because of Cork's win over Waterford last weekend. If Waterford win this game, Armagh are already progressed, but Waterford will progress alongside Armagh into the All-Ireland quarterfinals if that is the case. Any other results, if it's an Armagh win or a draw, and Armagh will go into the quarterfinals as seeded, and Cork will go into the All-Ireland quarterfinals, join them, and Waterford will go into the relegation semi-finals. I think you said Waterford win the All-Ireland. Am I right, Liam, on the Cúilín? So, like, you're obviously, if you want this All-Ireland prediction to continue, you'd be begging Waterford to win this game at the weekend.
I need them to win, to be honest with you. That prediction is sort of aging like milk at the moment, to be honest with you. But listen, I still like this Waterford team. I still think they have a lot to give. From their perspective, it was unfortunate for them to lose, especially in the fashion that they did last weekend. I mean, they were coming down the home stretch. They were 6 points up and they lost it by a point in the end. I mean, I can imagine they were very, very disappointed with how that game finished last weekend down in Dungarvan. And they'll want to go out this weekend and put that right, in my opinion. And like you said there, look, Armagh, our top class side, going away to Armagh is not going to be simple by any stretch of the imagination. But like you said Armagh's already through, so surely they could be, well, I wouldn't say surely, but you'd imagine they might be taking their eye off the ball a small bit. They might rest some players, get themselves ready for the next round. I think Waterford should bounce back this weekend away from home, just given the circumstances that they were under compared to Armagh as well. The likes of Kellyanne Hogan, the likes of Claire Walsh, Lauren McGregor, like these types of players, I don't think they'll want to let what happened last weekend happen again this weekend. If they get into a position where they're 6 points up with 5-6 minutes to go, they will not want to let it slip again. So I think they should win this weekend just off the basis of that. But God, if they go out this weekend, then I'll make sure not to predict them to win the All-Ireland next year, so they actually do go on and do it.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, Armagh are still fighting for a seeded quarterfinal place, a home quarterfinal, to be precise as well. So that might be on their minds in many ways, but their score difference is 10 at the moment. Waterford's is -1. So even if Waterford win the game by a point, then Armagh are still home quarterfinals because of the way the table works with all sides being on 3 points. It goes out to score difference and who comes top, and Armagh would have that at a 1-point victory. So it will be very interesting to see. I'm going to go for Armagh to win the game, but we will see what happens in this one. This is a knockout championship tie in Group 2. Group 2. So you have Tipperary against Kildare in Clonmel on Saturday at 3 p.m. So the situation in this group is winner takes all, basically. The winner goes to an away All-Ireland quarterfinal. Kerry are home in the All-Ireland quarterfinal after some brilliant performances from a Kerry perspective, and credit to Schaefer O'Shea as well, top scorer overall and from play in the All-Ireland Championship. That was posted yesterday on the Instagram accounts. But for Tipperary and Kildare, Liam, Kildare, a draw would be enough for them to get second place. But I'm sure they'll want to win the game and get this out of the way and get the win in this game. Tipperary have to win to stay in the All-Ireland Championship.
Yeah, it's the battle of the two teams that just got absolutely destroyed by Kerry. Like you don't know which one was nearly worse in a way, considering Kildare's game was at home. Like, it was a really tough weekend for Kildare last weekend, at home to Kerry in both instances, wasn't it? But look, with this game being in Tipperary, it's obviously a massive advantage to them. But Kildare are a team that have been moving very, very nicely over the last while. Like, I don't think the defeat to Kerry last weekend is going to define their season. And I don't even think Tipperary's will either. I think this will be a very closely fought game. I could see this game potentially being a draw, but I am actually going to just edge it to Kildare to maybe win by 2 points. I think they've got a really good squad. I think they have a lot of really good players in amongst their ranks at this present moment in time. I think they'll want to right the wrongs of last weekend, to be honest with you. I can't imagine they'll want to go out with a whimper like that, to be honest with you. So, listen, look, Kildare were a team that competed in the Leinster final as well. They went up against a decent Dublin team and everything like that, and a Dublin team that were obviously used to Croke Park as well. But Kildare have some really good players in their team, the likes of Prize Minute, corner forward, the likes of Aoife Rattigan, some really good players in their team. I think if you get the ball to them this weekend, get them on the ball, get them into shooting positions, then I think they should be able to take down Tipperary, maybe by 3 points this weekend or something like that. But I would not be surprised either if it was a draw. But like you said, that'll be enough for Kildare, so they'd be very happy with that.
Yeah, I think Kildare will get over the line as well. They were all early quarterfinals last year as well, so they'll want to get to that same stage again. Tipperary were as well, to be fair. So, will be interesting to see who gets over the line in that one. Look at Group 3. This is, again, a very similar situation to Group 2. Donegal against Mayo on Saturday at 1 p.m. in Glenfin. So the situation here is Dublin are already in the quarterfinals. They have a home quarterfinal in Parnell Park because the top of the group. For Mayo and Donegal, a draw will be enough for Mayo to get second place in the group. Donegal have to win to stay in the championship. Obviously, Donegal survived relegation by the skin of their teeth last year, so to get to another quarterfinal will be massive for them. Mayo, equally so, they'd want to get to another quarterfinal as well. Interesting game, this one. Could be a tie, what they call knockout championship football. Where do you see this one going?
Yeah, like you said there, Donegal were very fortunate not to get relegated last season. And I think Mayo have a bit more to give, to be honest with you. They were very unlucky not to win the Connacht title in the end against Galway in a game that I thought Galway would win rather comfortably. Do you know what I mean? So, look, and I think Donegal, their heads could be on the floor small. Now, albeit they were away to Dublin, which is never, it's not exactly like you're going out to play an easy opposition. But the way Dublin kind of won the game last weekend rather comprehensively might have done a bit of damage to Donegal potentially. So I could actually see Mayo winning this game this weekend. Not by the same type of scoreline that Dublin put past them, but I could see them winning the game comfortably enough this weekend. I think Donegal are a team that's probably struggling. I mean, even look at last weekend, they only had 2 players that scored in the game. It was Eva Gallagher and I think the other one was Suzanne White, I think it was, the other one who got a score for them. Like, they're going to need more than that if they're going to survive in this championship, and I don't see it happening this weekend. So I think Mayo should get over the line in this one.
Yeah, I'm going to go for Mayo to win the game as well. And another similar situation happening in this game. It's a bit repetitive at this stage. Tyrone against Meath on Saturday at 1 p.m. in Healy Park in Omagh. So the situation here is Meath only need a draw to survive in the championship and get to the All-Ireland quarterfinals. Tyrone have to win in this one. Both sides got absolutely slaughtered by Galway, who progressed to the quarterfinals at home. The home side, they've been impressive on a side note. But this game, to be honest with you, Liam, I'm going to lead on this. I do think Tyrone will get over the line. You look at Meath's team over the last few seasons, they've lost a lot of players. The likes of, like, off the top of my head, Katie New's gone, Maura Shot, and that's not even mentioning Vicky Wall and all these players, which were the obvious ones. But Niamh O'Sullivan's retired. Maura Shotnessy inactive this year. Katie New wasn't there. Monica McGurk. Okay, Robin Murray's a decent goalkeeper, but that's a player that's missing. Mary Kay Lynch has gone out to Australia. And the list is absolutely endless for me. Even the likes of Megan Tyne, I don't think is in action this year. Or Kelsey Nesbitt is one I don't think is in action this season. As for Tyrone, they're moving on an upward trajectory. So I think Tyrone will get the job done at home in this game and stay in the championship.
I think so as well. I think Tyrone are a team that are very much on the up. They're progressing really well after winning the Intermediate Championship last season. And I mean, they were very unlucky not to win the Ulster title as well. I'd say they're cursing themselves that they won the game that didn't matter against Armagh, and they ended up losing the one that mattered in the end by the point. But listen, I like Tyrone's forward line, to be honest with you. Aoife Hursk, Sorcha Gormley, like, they're 2 of the most lethal forwards in the country. Chloe McCaffrey as well, Niamh O'Neill, like, these are top class forwards. And I don't know if Meath, like you mentioned, with the players that they are missing, the players that are gone to Australia or just not playing this year, I think this could be the time when Meath's season probably does come to an end, or at least, I could just see Tyrone progressing. I think Tyrone are a team on the up. I think they're going to be a team that will be challenging for an All-Ireland, potentially maybe in the next 2-3 years. They stay at this level. They keep competing, albeit they were very disappointing against Galway the last day, like you mentioned. But listen, I think Tyrone should win this game rather comfortably enough this weekend. I think they have some top class forwards, and yeah, look, I wouldn't read too much into the 2 of them getting bet by Galway, because Galway are just an absolutely outrageous team with some top class forwards. So I think Tyrone should be in line to get over the line this weekend. I would be sort of shocked. Well, not shocked, but I'd be a small bit. I'm just trying to think of the word right now that's not shocked. Like, I'd be like perplexed. Jesus Christ, I can't even fucking speak. Perplexed if perplexed if Meath won this game this weekend.
Yeah, exactly. So, and a lot of hassle about him and Murray leaving his management post is what Peter's saying. Peter was also mentioning Stacey Grimes. That's another one. Like, that deserves a post if it's own, to be fair.
It does, actually. Yeah.
To be fair, the amount of players they have lost, it's mind-boggling from a Meath perspective, obviously. And to be honest, in the relegation semi-finals, you have a potential, look at our predictions there. You have, who do you have there? You have either Cork or Waterford, depending on who you want to go with. You have Tipperary. You have who's it? Tipperary, Donegal, Meath. Meath could, like, I don't think it's a ridiculous thing to say. Meath could actually go down here. I know they reached the All-Ireland final last year, but the amount of players, A.V. Cleary, another one. A.V. Lee, like, this is endless stuff. Like, it's incredible in many ways, the amount of players that Meath have lost. Again, that probably deserves a podcast of its own in many ways. And Peter explained the situation about Stacey Grimes there in the comments section. But that is the senior games wrapped up. So the intermediates take a break this weekend. The junior championship, you have London against Carlow on Saturday at 12 o'clock. And then on Sunday in the junior championship, we have Derry against Kilkenny at 2 o'clock and Antrim against Longford at 2 as well on Sunday. So that is the LGFA wrapped up. We move on to the Camogie, the final code this evening, looking at this as well. So Kilkenny play Clare. All these games are Group 2 in the All-Ireland. So you have Kilkenny against Clare. This is a big game for both sides because the winner of this progresses to the All-Ireland quarterfinals. And I think I'll have to have a look at the table here, Liam, just as a reminder, looking at this actually. This is a crazy enough scenario. If this is game as a draw, both sides progress to the All-Ireland's quarterfinals. Match to get played.
So the referee's going to throw in the ball and they're just going to stand around for 60 minutes. It's going to be nil.
I don't think they'll do that now. To be fair, I don't think they will. They'll want to win the game. But it's quite a crazy set of scenarios there.
It really is. And that's probably what's going to make the game very entertaining, to be honest with you. I'm very much looking forward to seeing how that goes from that perspective. But look, I think Kilkenny are the strongest team in this group, to be honest with you. Clare have had a very good season so far. They've got 3 excellent wins as well. But for me, Kilkenny, are still the best side in Group 2. They've put up huge score lines in all of their games so far. They put 5-15 past Offaly. What was it? 2-16 past Dublin. 3-19 past Limerick. Like they're on a really good run at the moment. They're playing some really, really nice camogie. They're goal hungry as hell. It's ridiculous, to be honest with you. Like they see goal and they just think, yep, that's what we want. We don't want points. Keep getting goals. Like, was it 3 against Limerick, 5 against us, 2 against Dublin? That's 10 goals in 3 games. Like, that's absolutely ridiculous. The likes of, I was worried the last day for our backs, as good as they are and as good as they were, say, against Wexford. Sarah Barco, Emma Shorthall, Aoife Prendergast, who I think is still Kilkenny's best hurler, in my opinion. I could be wrong saying that, but I have no problem saying that. Laura Murphy, like McHardy, Fitzgerald, like it's a savage stacked forward line. So I think they could put more damage on Clare this weekend. I think Clare will probably get the closest to them in this championship, but I think Kilkenny should just be too strong, and especially with having home advantage as well. I think this should be Kilkenny booking their place in the next round. But at the same time, like you said, they both could get a draw and they could both be true. So maybe a little bit of maths fixed in there. You never know. But I don't see it happening. I think Kilkenny will want to win and put out their own bit of statement.
Yeah, I think Kilkenny will get over the line as well. Clare have had an impressive season, but they are missing a massive player in Lorna McNamara, who I think did her ACL in the first game. That's a massive loss. I think she scored 2-8 in the first game and then did her ACL in the second game, I think, which is serious bad luck, I have to say. Who's a player who's had an absolutely incredible season as well. So yeah, Kilkenny have had a brilliant performance. Ashley McCarthy's been absolutely brilliant as well. So yeah, I think Kilkenny will win the game. We will put the 2 other games together because it looks like, well, regardless of the Kilkenny-Clare result, it looks like both of them will progress to the All-Ireland quarterfinals, while the other 4 are out of the championship. So you look at Wexford against Limerick. This is on at Wexford Park on Saturday at 3:30. And you also have Liam's own county Offaly against Dublin in Birr on Saturday at 4 p.m. Look at those games, Liam. What's your thoughts on the games? Like, it's disappointing for these 4 counties that Kilkenny and Clare are just that bit ahead.
Yeah, it is, to be honest with you. Look, for us, I think, first of all, I think our main aim coming into the start of the season was just simply stay in the senior division after coming up from intermediate last year, and maybe continue to develop these players and get them ready for the next couple of seasons in the senior championship. We're coming up against a good Dublin team this weekend. There's no point sugarcoating it. Dublin destroyed us in the Leinster Championship, but at the same time, they then went on to lose to Wexford in the Leinster final. We bet Wexford in the first round, and Dublin have been sort of disappointing in the championship so far. So maybe this is the best time to go up against them. The likes of Clodagh Lahey is in the form of her life at the moment. I think she got, was it 1-6 she got against Kilkenny the last day. Maybe it was thanks to Katie Taylor's pre-match talk with her. Maybe she just had the fire inside her to go out and put in another performance. Or sorry, it was 1-2 that she got the last day, but she got 1-6 against Limerick, I should say. But yeah, Grace Tehan, Mairead Tehan have been in fantastic form so far in the championship as well. Faema Rooney did well against Wexford, I should say. Sarah Harding is a player that's fully capable of getting goals. The back line is still a very good back line, in my opinion. Amy Burns, an excellent captain. Orla Phelan is a warrior at wing back. So look, we have the capabilities of beating Dublin this weekend. It just depends on what Offaly kind of turns up. If the Offaly turns up that did against Wexford, we have a great chance. If it's the same Offaly that kind of turned up against Kilkenny 2 weeks ago, it could be a struggle against Dublin, to be honest with you. But you know what? I'm going to be in a positive mood this weekend, and I'm going to say the girls will get the job done. I think Dublin have just been disappointing in the All-Ireland series so far, so I'm going to back our girls to do it. In terms of Wexford versus Limerick, listen, Limerick are a very, very good side. They're a very, very, very talented team, and have some really, really top-class players in their side. Like, look, the opening round to defeat Kilkenny again, wouldn't read too much into it, to be honest with you, because at the end of the day, or the defeat to Clare, because they're the two best sides in the competition. So I wouldn't worry too much about those two results. But they bet Offaly, and I think the scoreline in the end was rather fair, to be honest with you. They got in for goals really, really well, and ultimately deserved the victory. So I think Limerick, I should say, I think Limerick should have too much for Wexford this weekend. Wexford have been on a bit of a downward spiral since they won the Leinster Championship. And yeah, I don't see that kind of changing this weekend. I think Limerick should get the job done, and I think it should. I think that'll put Wexford in a very, very tricky position, which after winning the Leinster title, I wouldn't have predicted. But yeah, I think Wexford could be in a bit of bother after this weekend. And just actually, as we're wrapping up that, the Offaly team has been announced for the Tailteann Cup semi-final this weekend, and there's no point going through it because it's the same team that played last weekend against Wexford, which we all kind of expected. So I'm expecting Keith O'Neill to score 10 points again this weekend. No pressure, Keith. Anyways, I think Wexford could be in a bit of bother after this weekend.
Yeah, I think they could as well. Yeah, I think it will be Dublin Offaly is very, very tight to call. I'm going to go for Dublin to win that game, and then Wexford and Limerick, I'm going to go for Limerick to get over the line in that one as well. We'll just touch on the intermediate and junior games on this weekend. Kerry are playing Derry on Saturday at 3:30, of Down against Antrim at 3:30 as well in the intermediate grade, and there is no junior grade, so that is the only two games left to cover. So an hour and 30 minutes in the books. Thanks to everybody that viewed. Thanks to Liam for joining this evening. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff on Cúilín Media as well. Thanks to ATAK Sports for sponsoring this show, and indeed the championship coverage of 2026. As Peter says in the comments in here, lads, great preview. Thanks a Bill. Enjoy the games of the weekend. Catch you back on Sunday evening at 8 o'clock. Good luck, and thanks very much for you viewing, Peter. My time in the hot seat is probably at an end because Seamus Brady probably will be back on Sunday, so hopefully you enjoyed my presenting styles and things like that. But as Sean O'Malley said, they are great pod, lads. And we will wrap up the show here. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thanks to ATAK Sports for sponsoring, and until the next show on Sunday evening, we'll see you then. Take care and enjoy the games at the weekend.
Instinct, baby.